Ark Eternal. An incredibly fun yet challenging overhaul mod for Ark. I will be spending 100 days here, and by the end of it, I have to fight the Dark Hierophant, a mega powerful demonic reaper empress? Wait a minute, that's a different mod. Not only will I have to kill the Dark Hierophant, but I will need to defeat hundreds of bosses in order to get there, all while doing my best not to die. But just so it's not too easy on myself, every time I die, there will be $25 added to a pot that I'll give away at the end of the video. Make sure to watch all the way to the end to see how you can win. Now I hope you enjoy watching my internal suffering as I die to modded shenanigans over and over again. But let's get this show on the path by waking up on the safe beach of Crystal Isles, scratching my arm to make sure I'm not dreaming, and punching a tree to acquire its thatch, and then beginning to craft hundreds of my own chibi for experience. I made myself a bowler and an eternal trank spear before proceeding to yeet myself off a cliff. Yeah, in Ark Eternal you take no fall damage. This will be important later on when we get ourselves an eternal glide suit. I continued off down the beach, very slowly I might add, due to all the chibi crafting. When I came to a spot I had to swim and there was an unconscious shark in the water that I wanted to tame. So I needed some meat, and these leeches should do. Okay, no clue why that leech was so damn tanky, but I was finally able to harvest up its corpse in the morning before running back to the shark, taming it up, and named him Sparky the Sharky. As this was not just a regular megalodon, it was an elemental lightning meg, one of many tiers of creatures in Ark Eternal. Everything from elemental, alpha, prime, ghost, and even the elusive bacon tier. I will need to figure out and progress through these tiers. So using Sparky as a bodyguard, began to swim across the water, hoping to find some more life other than just leeches. I tamed up this eternal dodo by shoving eternal berries up its butt before turning to murder his friends. Guess throwing the spear does no damage. I killed another dodo before spotting a jerboa who I bowled in order to trank it out, but he tamed up only to immediately pass out again. I named him Jerbob Ross after my jerboa from the Pugnacia 100 days, before running off down the beach when a Zomdodo decided to start trying to eat me. No, Jerbob Ross! RIP. I might not be able to kill this dodo now, but I will avenge my jerboa. I came across a fire truck who I bowled in order to begin tranking, but this dodo was a real pain. They swim so fast! Ugh, finally, no more dodos. I got back to my trike, who I named Afterburn, before leading him and my dodos back to my base. I wanted to make a trike saddle but was short of hide, so of course I had to murder a trike for it. Ooh, a lightning trike. I named him Electrike. Saddled up Afterburn so I could harvest a bunch of bushes before grabbing some crystal from a nearby rock to make myself an awesome spyglass, and using that confidence killed an eternal raptor, but he was just a distraction. Whew. Thankfully Electrike does torpor, so we were able to kill off that eternal alpha raptor, but rip one of my eternal dodos. I trapped up Sparky, my dodos, and Electrike before running off on Afterburn. Yeah, nope. I am not dealing with a metallic bloodstalker. And after emerging on a nearby beach, I bowled an electric pteranodon, tranked it out, shoved my meat into it, and then massacred everything around it before seeing a DOA and deciding I am not dealing with that and running away. That pteranodon was not worth it. I continued off down the beach in the morning of day 4, murdering everything when I saw an indominus shark stuck in the shallows of the water. Well, that kill wasn't exactly worth it. I saw the DOA was fighting a robot truck which summoned in the bionic Giga when it died. Nope. I am out of here.
Death worm.
So, allow me to explain. Almost everything in Eternal has a spawn on death mechanic. No matter what you kill, there is a chance for something stronger and potentially even bosses to spawn on death. I tamed another fire truck and tranked out a poison pteranodon before saddling it up, named it Caustic, and flew off to have some fun. I then spent the remaining parts of the day harvesting some metal. I found a cool spot on the waterfall in the morning where I set up my single foundation that would probably be my entire base for this playthrough, but you'll have to watch till the end to see if I actually can build a base. And dumped off all my stuff and found a spectral gutcher that I was able to tame, as well as a mammoth. I decided to go for this Anki as well. Oops, might have gotten a bit too close there. So waking up, I made a mortar and pestle to grind up some cementing paste so I could make the Eternal Corpse Retriever, an extremely overpowered structure that allows you to recover your corpse. I spent the rest of the day checking out my gutchas, harvesting some resources, setting up a forge when an Eternal Prime Shadowmane attacked. Rest in peace, Afterburn. But I couldn't rest now, as the Shadowmane was stalking me, so jumping off the cliff to at least lead it away, and I was going to bowler this Argent, but missed. Yeah, did not go to plan. In the morning, there was yet a new Shadowmane stalking me, so I jumped off the cliff again to lead it away. Yeah, this giveaway is racking up pretty quick. Maybe this base spot wasn't such a good idea. So I set up some foundations to hopefully block the spawns, but these Shadowmane were relentless. I wanted to make an Eternal Glider, but needed more hard, so using my backup fire trike was able to kill some alloys before making the glide suit and jumping off the cliff. And as you can see, this glider turns you into a rocket. I got back to Caustic to trap him up before flying off into the sunset to end off the day. And as I was flying around in the morning, I saw these two purple stegos that I easily tamed before gliding back to my foundations, where there was a fire velociraptor that I chose to try and trank. Yeah, my bowler didn't last quite long enough. Oh well, so I flew off to find something else to tame and came across these cows only to get mauled by one of them. Oops. I quickly flew back again to where they were and was able to kill them with my trike's laser beam, because I needed their hide to make a stego saddle. So I flew home only to find my stego was still taking a nap from when I tamed it. I decided to check out the wyvern trench only to find there was a literal swarm of them. Yeah, I died. I instead found a decent level lightning pteranodon in the morning that I bowlered, stabbed with my trank pike, and got some meat from the nearby highland cows. Shoved it into the pteranodon and he became my friend. So I named him Zapper Boy before zipping off again on my rocket-powered glider. Saddled up Zapper before diving into the lake to gather some metal. When finally my stego woke up and I was able to harvest a ton of resources from a single bush. Who knew they were so resource rich? And I wanted to make some alpha berries in the morning but was short of DNA. So using Zapper Boy, I went out to try get some kills when I instead found some Ankies I was able to trank and tame. Just in time too, as a Rex emerged from the ground from out of nowhere. So instead choosing to simply head home, as I wanted to put this Anki to the test. Fantastic berry gatherer, useless metal gatherer. So I'll need to find something else if I hope to have plentiful metal. I flew off again in the morning when I came across a cave of pure death, only to kill myself with my glide suit. Yeah, the feather falling sometimes chooses to not work. Good thing corpse recovery is insanely overpowered, so you lose nothing. I was tranking out a lightning kangaroo, but let's just say he had some friends, and I wanted a fighter. Something that could kill what I need. Something like that Fire Reaper Queen. I fairly easily tranked it out with Zapper Boy before gathering some prime from the nearby locals and chucking it in the Reaper. I was waiting around for the Reaper to tame in the early hours of the morning when this happened. Yeah, rip stego. Seriously? The Reaper finally tamed up, so I flew off to take it for a test drive. Not an amazing damage dealer, but by no means the worst. Though maybe I shouldn't have been fighting in water on a flaming alien. I spent the rest of the day flying all over the map, searching for some things to tame, but something found me first. Woke up to see yet a new Shadowmane wanted to be my roommate on my foundation, but I wasn't interested. I recovered my belongings before using this budget Reaper Empress to take out a sleeping Alpha Shadowmane. And you know what? That's a great name. So I named my Fire Reaper exactly that as she burrowed into the ground to get away from me. I saddled up a poison scorpion I had tamed in the morning to try and use it to tame an Eternal Anki, but the scorpion was useless. So I trapped it up and instead used Caustic to begin tranking it out. But again, it was too slow, so I took matters into my own hands. Yeah, maybe I should have stuck to my terra. I got back to the Anki, who was now sleeping, shoved in some berries and tamed it, and I wanted to get some more creatures, but flying through the redwoods wasn't very successful, so I chopped up my... It was day 13 by the time I finally logged in, and there was nothing exciting around, so just rocketed out the redwoods. I saw an Indominus Rex fighting a spectral bear that I was able to yoink the loot. Spent the rest of the day just flying around searching for an alpha wyvern to tame, when I managed to steal an alpha dodo. Oh, that's bad. Aggro to something else. Yes. Well, yes, that wyvern almost killed me. At least now that gave me a break to tame this dodo. And another one. I even tamed this alpha woolly rhino, who I promptly trapped never to be seen again. Now, in Eternal, in order to tame alpha and prime carnivores, you need alpha and prime meat. I was able to make one alpha meat, but needed more. Some polymer. And one of the resources I was short of was polymer. So I flew off to the snow where there are all these black and white fluffy burritos I could club into organic polymer, when I saw something off in the distance.
Hey, what type of dinosaur is that?
You idiot, that's not a dinosaur, that's clearly a prehistoric mammal.
You're both wrong. That, my friends, is a tank from today's sponsor, Warthunder. Warthunder is the most comprehensive vehicle game ever made, with over 2,000 tanks, planes, and ships all entwined in a dynamic combined arms PvP system. Each vehicle is incredibly detailed and modeled down to the individual components. You can play on a PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And if you're looking for high-paced PvP battles with a realistic and tactical experience, unlike riding around on a pig while lightning wyverns try to pick you, or while being immersed with incredible graphics and details in 4K resolution, then Warthunder is for you. In Warthunder, I love making use of the Centurion Mark 1, as I can just strafe my enemies while blowing them up. So go now and download Warthunder using my link in the video description for a large free bonus pack with multiple premium vehicles, boosters, and much more. Okay, fine Rex, you can play now, but why'd you have to break the wall down? I was fighting some thorny dragons and a sleepy Shadowmane in the morning, but honestly, who needs a flyer in Ark Eternal when this glider just rockets you off into the sky before heading back to the base? Okay, maybe that's why it's safer to use a flyer. I eventually knocked out the wyvern using my terra, shoved my meat into it, and even had to boil it to keep it tranked out, before finally it arose in the morning and I took it out for a test flight. You know what? I expected it to do more torpor, as a creature that does the most torpor in Ark is the unknown poison wyvern. A wyvern I would definitely be needing to evolve into at some point. So I spent the rest of the day just relentlessly murdering everything with my wyvern, even attacking the Cave of Death. I eventually got home in the early hours of morning of day 17 and set up some basic walls for my foundations so I'd have a safe space to log out when I needed to, as yes, these are recorded on a server that is open to play on for all my subscribers. So if you're interested in playing with the same rates and map that I used, join my Discord using the link in the video description, where I even host Ark events such as 100 Players Civilization. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of my content. I spent the rest parts of the day simply murdering the local wildlife before I saw an alpha wyvern in the distance. I knew I wanted one, so I hopped on my terra to begin tranking it out. And phew, that was close. I grabbed some healing pots from the base before heading back into battle. The wyvern was finally out in the morning of day 18, so I fed it a taming potion, gave it my alpha meat, and I now had my very own alpha wyvern. I was short of some dino hearts, so using my poison wyvern, went on a massive killing spree for their hearts. Once I got home, I saddled up the alpha wyvern to take out for a test flight, and while this guy's fairly strong, so I really wanted to evolve him. But I'll admit, I could not figure it out with the resources I had on hand. Day 19 was spent flying out on my poison wyvern, killing titanosaurs and some prime dinos for their blood, as I still wanted to try evolve my alpha wyvern into a prime, but it didn't seem to be working. Or I was just doing it wrong, but let's not think about that. And as day 20 rolled around, I flew off to the swamp in search of dragons and found a swarm of them. So using my terra, slowly began to trank them out. And finally, when the dragon was sleeping and tamed, before setting this giraffe on fire, taming another one, when out of nowhere a resurrected wyvern came and I had to make a break for it. Well, that certainly could have gone worse, but at least now I have a couple dragons to make use of. Once I got home, I set up the dragons to begin breeding, and I just first had to set up a bunch of torches in order to hatch the egg. And once the baby dragon was hatched, I threw it out to begin raising up, before being the fantastic father that I am and going AFK while it raised up. But I was then told of how I could evolve my dragon, so shoving some elemental blood into the dragon, I successfully evolved my elemental fire dragon into an eternal alpha dragon, which then allowed me to pump the dragon full of prime blood and get my own prime dragon. Now this thing can deal some damage. I continued to massacre everything in the morning of day 22 with my prime dragon, flying around burning and bleeding down everything I could. It felt good to be powerful. Even the pit of death got melted in my flames. So I spent the entire day fighting everything I could, and even into day 23, but that's when the toughest fight ever started. Load shedding from SCOP. Thankfully, logging back in, I was still alive and able to jump back on my dragon to continue fighting everything, as that is one trait of Eternal, as you need to kill a lot of dinos for their drops and spawns. Day 24 was spent just messing around my foundations before flying out on my terra, where I found an alpha mammoth, but I didn't have the berries I needed, so shooting back to base, only to completely shatter my ankles. Ow, there was meant to be no fall damage. Oh well, can't dwell on it. Grabbed the berries and flew back to the mammoth, trapped it up, and then took off in search of dinos to tame. Day 25. A quarter of the way there, I spent some time checking out my chibi, a mod you can download for yourself on the Steam Workshop, before setting up some stands for some of the other chibis in the mod pack, before flying across the beaches only to... yeah, I got sniped by a wyvern. Waking up, recovered my things and flew off to find an alpha pteranodon. I finally got it knocked out, only to have it sink to the bottom of the lake, so I had to dive down after it. Damn sharks. Why do they always have to be in the water? It's gonna wake up. I'm trying. Oh damn, I almost just drowned. Well, that's generally what... And those manners almost just got me. But thankfully, the quick thinking of throwing out my dragon was enough to scare them off. and I found the terra again, and this time tranked it out on land. So I was able to tame it up in the morning before taking off again. Then once I got home, I saddled up the terra, shoved it full of experience potions, made it swallow some green gems, and evolved it into a poison alpha pteranodon. I named him Green Beans, and named my prime dragon Rainfall as suggestions from my stream chat. Saddled up Green Bean before turning my eyes to the nearby prime wyvern. Woo! 3 million torpor down, but I was short of some prime eternal meat. So I had to go on a murder spree with my dragon. And, well, guess even on a super powerful fire-breathing dragon, you can still die to a dragonfly. And I got back to my dragon in the morning to continue farming dino hearts and dino DNA. But remember how I said that creatures have a chance to spawn every time something dies? Yeah, that wasn't a Dominus Dodo wyvern. Waking up, I recovered my things, gave my new eternal prime meat to the prime wyvern in order to tame it, before jumping off the cliff to fly back to Rainfall, who was in an epic heated battle with the Dodo wyvern, and all I could do was watch and try to whistle her away. Nice. Oh my gosh, dragon versus thing. Oh my gosh. Bloop. But they just poof off into existence. I need to like load in my dragon without loading in the other one. Nice! That actually worked! I needed to make a wyvern saddle, but was short of some fiber, so whacked the bushes with my sickle, crafted up the saddle, jumped on the wyvern and went off to test out the damage. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering why I needed this wyvern so badly. Well, this wyvern is what can evolve into an unknown wyvern, or more specifically, an unknown poison wyvern, a creature that can do some incredible amounts of torpor. But first, I had to do some leveling, so that meant a murdering spree of the local fauna to end off the day. I spent most of day 28 on Green Beans taming a gacha, as well as an eternal Dodicris to help me gather some stone, as yes, I did actually have plans to build a base for once in my life. So once I got home, I saddled up the Dode and smashed some rocks, garnering tons of resources. I named the Dode Rickety Farmer before heading out again with Green Beans, carrying the Dode to harvest even more resources. You know, Eternal doesn't make much sense. Using a Pteranodon to carry a Dode in order to harvest metal. Weird. I used my mammoth to try harvest up some wood, but it was just a worthless wood bozo. So I instead rode around on my Dode using my crystal hatchet to harvest wood, when an eternal megalo jumped me. Reenacting Mario Kart. Bloop, bloop, did. Well, that was comical, to say the least. Oh no, not again. Autobots, roll out. Nerd. I finally got away in the water, simply paddling my way away and using the opportunity to harvest some underwater resource nodes. I did fetch Rainfall to help me carry the loot back to base as well, Dodes can't fly, before doing something that I never actually do. I started working on a base for at least like 5 minutes before I got bored and flew off to go mass murdering all the dinosaurs to keep collecting more resources in order to evolve my wyvern at the end of the day. Day 30 started as I spent some time to clear out the nearby nasties that had spawned on my platform before setting up a crafting area on my new foundations, when I saw a prime Pegasus flying around nearby. I thought, this might be a powerful tame, so I tranked it out with Green Beans, and I really need to get this unknown poison wyvern so I can trank things out faster. Shoved in my berries and it was mine. Flying off in the morning, riding on My Little Pony. You know, I really can't believe I just said that. I was in search of some basilos to kill as I needed their oil. After killing about a dozen of the freedom requiring whales, I had a good couple thousand oils, so began the flight to the redwoods as I wanted some organic polymer. As for those who don't know, on Crystal Isles there is an incredible spot to gather thousands of organic polymer in minutes. I finally found it in the morning, the honey cave. I did first use a dragon to clear out the local residents of the bears and the bees. I think I had a conversation with my parents about those once, before using my hatchet to chop up some beehives for all that sweet and tasty organic polymer. Once I got home, I used the poly and freedom fluid to craft up an eternal resource converter. Now this converter is super important as it allows you to craft various Ark Eternal items, including dino hearts and dino DNA. The final two items I needed to evolve my wyvern into an unknown poison wyvern. Woo! This is gonna be fun. Being able to deal hundreds of thousands of torpor in a matter of seconds. But it is safe to say that this wyvern is not much of a fighter. Thankfully, Rainfall was able to help me out, even if I did have to go fetch her afterwards, and I chose to name the poison wyvern Pixel Cyanide. Another great suggestion from my stream chat. I went out on Rainfall as I needed some more meat, so of course had to murder a bunch of things. When I needed more prime fish meat, so using Rainfall I began to fly? Wait a damn minute, I was flying through the water? Well, that makes no sense. But anyways, killing everything went suddenly. Oh, that's a giga. No, no, free me, free me. I'm cocooned. No. Set me free. Set me free. No. Set me free. I'll escape it in the water. Run. Escape. Escape. Underwater. Swim away. That could have been bad, as that was the Bionic Giga, a very powerful boss in Ark Eternal. I really should be more careful of whatever I choose to randomly kill. In the morning of day 34, I continued my random killing spree. I know, right? I never learned, but are you really surprised? But I just really needed this prime fish meat in order to craft more dino hearts and DNA. Once I got home, I did evolve one of my dragons as I wanted a second prime dragon so that I could breed and imprint them. Set up a generator and some air cons to let the eggs begin incubating while I went out with Pixel Cyanide to trank out this Ghost Rex. To make it easy for myself, I did pick it up to carry him home. And in the morning, it was fully tamed, so I headed out on a damage testing mission. I chose to name the Ghost Rex Ghastly before taking on an Indominus Dodo Reaper. Safe to say, Ghastly is pretty strong. Once I got home, I threw out my fresh prime dragon to begin raising up before flying out again on Rainfall as I wanted to unlock some tech. Specifically, the tech transmitter. I was short of a few artifacts, so I did fly off to pick up a few easy ones before heading off to my boss summoner with all the tributes that I needed. Then as the sun was rising on day 36, I summoned in the beta dragon. Dragon! Well, that was easy. But I suppose that is why you fight Ark Eternal bosses and not vanilla ones. I wanted to set up my replicator but needed more metal, so I needed more wood to smelt that metal. Crafted up a forge before heading out with green beans and Ankylo to gather some metal, except the Anky really wasn't gathering very much, so it was suggested to use my Dode. So I hopped on green beans, grabbed the dirt, and flew into the water? Yeah. Now this is some super weird Ark stuff. Using a pteranodon to carry a Dodicrus to gather metal while flying underwater. This breaks like every rule of Ark, but it is what it is. And once I got home on day 37, I finally had enough metal and was able to place down my tech replicator, only to pick it straight back up again as I just didn't have the right space for it. So I expanded my floor plan, moved around some of the crafting supplies, and placed down the replicator. I spent the next morning working, doing some resource harvesting, building up, and the crafting station, and even a tech transmitter. So now I would be able to scan for any creature on the map for their exact coordinates. I had some plans in the morning to evolve my prime dragon into an infernal, so I crafted an infernal potion, force fed it to my dragon, and poof! I now had an infernal dragon. Safe to say, I was pretty disappointed. Evolving it had a massive downgrade in damage, but it is what it is. So I turned my eyes for something else to tame. And finally arriving at the ice cave in the morning of day 40 as I flew around searching for Morph's death from below. I finally found one, only to have it glitch and disappear, so I got told by Protorax, one of my patrons, about another morph outside nearby. I managed to trank it out before it nuked everything around it, including me. Shoved in my eternal prime meat, and now I had my very own Prolovia of death. So I jumped on before going and nuking everything. Now this was a tame that I could use to take on some bosses. But as powerful as I was, even the simple things can kill me. Twice. Okay, it was 3 times. Maybe it was a good thing I died, as I was able to save my dinos getting attacked at my base before flying back to my morph in order to save it. And I continued my onslaught, massacring everything. I felt powerful. I continued breaking all Ark logic in the morning of day 42, harvesting metal node after node after node after node, as I needed the resources to expand my base. So for the entirety of the next 2 days, I was building, expanding, and upgrading and demolishing the old shack. This was a truly massive base upgrade. Day 45, as I was finishing up the building, I placed down a grinder to clear up the masses of loot that you get as an AoE drop in this mod, before crafting up a pair of scissors to give myself the correct haircut. And that looks way better. Then I headed out in the morning on my infernal dragon for a massive meat gathering session, as I was yet again short of meat in order to craft an insta-tame bacon. Yes, you heard that right. Insta-tame bacon. I did also go gather some measures with my crystal sickle, set up a chemistry bench to make up some gunpowder, and an industrial grill to cook up some meat. Before I flew off in the morning to find a jug bug. But not just any jug bug. An eternal dino heart jug bug. A tameable jug bug that passively generates you dino hearts. Stupid direwolf. I managed to get back and use pixel cyanide to deal with the wolf. Flew home and set up a soul terminal for the jug bug to begin gathering the hearts. Flying off in the morning, I was in search of a dino DNA jug bug, which I did eventually find in the swamp, shot with a dart and tamed up using some alpha berries before beginning the flight home to end off the day. I wanted to start prepping to take on my very first Ark Eternal boss, a mystical, so I dived down to grab an artifact before pulling the rest of the resources. Accidentally died to another enforcer.
I hate enforcers, man.
Yeah, I don't learn sometimes. But got back to my morph and summoned in the mystical rhino.
Every damn time, man. Every time.
That damn enforcer! And in Eternal, if bosses are de-rendered, they despawn instantly. So I had to re-summon in the mystical rhino. was finally the morning of day 50 when I brought down the rhino, giving myself some beautiful new eternal armor, but I didn't want to stop there. So I grabbed some more in order to summon in even more bosses, like the mystical mammoth.
I wasn't paying attention to my health and almost died. I'm coming after you!
Second boss down and approximately 100,000 million trillion to go. Now for all these bosses I needed artifacts, so I set off in search of an otter to tame. I eventually arrived at Otter Lake where I began to tame this awesome alpha otter. I then proceeded to spend the remaining parts of the day to get hundreds of kills in order to rank up my dinos, as one of my mods on the server is combat trainer, so for every 500 kills my team gets, it ranks up to gain bonus health and damage. I went over to collect some artifacts only to find the giant rideable otter couldn't hold my artifacts, so I took out my frustration by simply nuking everything in a 10-kilometer radius. This morph was absolutely insane. Incredibly fast, super tanky, and able to explode everything in sight. I spent the entire rest of the day just running across the map, obliterating everything. But do you remember how I mentioned that different creatures have a chance to spawn in the deaths of those around them? Well, I never learn.
Oh, hi, Bacon Overlord. Ah, no, don't hurt me. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That was... Oh, shit. I should not have done that. I should not have done that. I should not have done that. It was at this moment that Nat knew. He f***ed up. Oh no. 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 That's Bacon home. Speed out of here. Get the heck out of here.
That was Bacon Overlord's daddy. A boss I am simply not able to fight just yet. So I instead chose to spend the rest of the day fighting bosses I could kill, like the mystical armored Giga.
Come on. Ah, you stinking unicorn horn Giga.
Day 54 was spent fighting the mystical Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And then as I was on my way home, nuking everything, a bionic Giga spawned in. But this time, I wasn't running.
Why'd they have to be two? And they... Oh my gosh. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. Love triangle.
Well, that loot was kind of disappointing, so I didn't waste my time fighting the second one, as a tameable version had spawned in once I killed it. So I came back in the morning on Pixel Cyanide, tranked out the bionic gigas, and shoved in my futuristic orbs, and now they were mine. I spent the rest of the day fighting some of the harbingers, first of which was a giant blue penguin that gave me a blue beetle summoner, and next up on the nuking list was a yellow dodecarus. But its death summoned in the phantasmal manticore. I finally had it dead in the morning, and for some reason my chibi decided to have a nap on the floor. Guess you get tired from constantly eating. And I was then fighting another harbinger, the giant green frog, only for my morph to decide now was the best time for a nap. So I had to fly away to de-render the frog so it would despawn, and I trapped up my morph so she could finish her nap before heading home, where I threw out white beetles that I'd gotten from the harbingers. These beetles will passively generate resources when they have eternal kibble in their inventory. I spent the entirety of the next 2 days fighting some bosses and cleaning out the griffin trench, as one of the tames that I desperately wanted was a bacon overlord's griffin. So that meant everything had to die. Except what I wanted is exactly what showed up. That damn griffin had to decide me fighting a boss was the right time to show up. I eventually killed the hard mode Giga in the evening of day 59, even if I did abuse its lack of swimming ability so I could kill it, and I even killed the phantasmal broodmother that had spawned when the Giga ended up dying. It was just such a pity that griffin was killed in the process as well. And day 60 ended up being nothing more than fight some random bosses and run away from the Titan God as I nuked everything to rack up a higher and higher kill count. I woke up in the morning of day 61 to fight even more bosses before continuing off on day 62 to nuke everything else, as well as my final mystical, the mystical wyvern. Then on day 62, I was out again nuking everything in search of a bacon overlord griffin to tame. But that meant a lot of bosses who spawned had to be dealt with. Then in the morning, I placed down my very first god shrine, a structure that can passively generate resources before heading off back to my boss shrine where I summoned and tranked my very own bacon overlord. But I of course didn't have the insta-tame meat I needed, so heading out on my bionic Giga for a massive meat run. Now, he was strong, but definitely didn't compare to my morph who was able to melt these bosses. On day 66, I was having some serious meter shortages, as these prime meats were pretty expensive to make. So I set up some sussy plants that I was able to harvest in the morning for hundreds of meat. So I set up even more of these tech crop plots and even set up some greenhouses in the morning to make the crops grow even faster, before finally having enough meat to craft up this magical insta-tame bacon. And I now had my very own bacon overlord. So I spent the rest of the day running around whacking everything, burning it down, testing its damage. I chose to name it Chaotic Golem. I finally made up some insta-tame bacon before heading back into the griffin trench, clearing out all the lion bird hybrids when something new spawned in, a silver knight. So I immediately shot home to grab pixel cyanide and began tranking out this griffin. Well, that's a big rip. I eventually got back home, evolved a new wyvern, saddled it up, and flew off back to the Silver Knight, who I eventually brought down, shoved in my bacon, and it was mine. Let's go for a test flight. Absolutely insanely powerful. I was racking up hundreds of kills and even gave my griffin some tech armor. Now this thing looks insane. I spent the morning of day 71 harvesting up the sussy plants for their meat before moving on to test my Silver Knight versus some actual bosses. Snow shot. That was fast. I named him Quicksilver before spending the rest of the day fighting multiple mystical and phantasmal bosses. But it was key in fighting all of these, as I needed their essence in order to craft Summoning Region, a key ingredient for summoning some of the hard mode and god mode bosses. I ended up tranking out a Terra Nova that I was able to tame with some bacon, and this guy's pretty strong, but barely compares to the strength of my Silver Knight. As with Quicksilver, I was even able to melt multiple hard mode mystical pteranodons like they were nothing. Everything would perish at the hands of my Chaos Griffin Ripple. I set up some more guard shrines that I'd collected, which each generated different things, as well as upgraded to an eternal tech generator for unlimited power. And again, fighting even more pteranodons before spending some time with Quicksilver to massacre hundreds and hundreds of dinos. I was continuing to run short of resources on day 78, so I went off to tame some jug bugs to passively generate more resources. Before on day 79, it was time to take on the resurrected god. It was almost the end of day 80 when I noticed the resurrected god had despawned. All that time spent and I did maybe, what, 200 million damage? Safe to say, I would need a stronger army for this. So I cleared out the remaining resurrected and mysticals that had spawned during the fight before getting home, emptying out my inventory and grabbing what I needed as I planned to fight the god tier robot Magmasaur. A big metallic boy. Boo! Yeah, that fight went way easier. I was told by my stream chat of a very rare tame known as Bacon's Armageddon. A tame that has a chance to spawn either as an enemy or as a tameable variant. A tame that spawns on death of a Bacon's Overlord's daddy. And Bacon's Overlord's daddy spawns when a Bacon Overlord dies. So I began to farm summon Bacon Overlords, killing dozens of the meat golems when Bacon's daddy showed up. Hi, Daddy. There he is. Crow, look at it. Yay! I eventually killed it in the morning, but got no Armageddon spawn, so back to killing the bacon golems when some patrons of mine had actually gotten one to spawn and knocked it out, only to then learn the tame was currently bugged. So I gave up on the idea of trying to get an Armageddon to spawn for now, as even testing in single player, I could not get it to work. If that's not how you're meant to get it, let me know in the comment section. And while you're down there, consider hitting the like button, as it makes me feel good about myself. Smiley face. I took off on day 83 in order to tame an element jug bug, as I needed millions of element shards in order to run my cloning chamber, so I could get multiple quicksilvers. Waking up on day 84, my quicksilver that I forgot to record starting the cloning on was finally tamed, and I had an idea. So I set up a mutator in order to swap the gender. So now I had a male and a female quicksilver, before setting them up to mate only for it to not work. So back at the mutator, I gave them an enable breeding pulse. That didn't work either. I tried swapping their genders again, and nothing. Okay, time to whip out my grade 5 chemistry set. Made 2 mating potions, and that put breeding at 9,990%. Gave them a sex change potion again, and voila! One was now gestating. Gave it a gestation potion, and yay! I now had 2 baby silver knights. No clue how that actually worked, but it was truly a eureka moment. Set up a nanny so I could imprint this griffin test tube baby before force feeding it a growth potion to rocket it into adulthood, and then I set up a tech cooking pot so I could quickly make some soups and brews before crafting a dino mind flash potion. A potion that gifts your dino max level. Loaned up the silver knight, and now I was preparing an army, just like how you have to join your army and reinforcements in Warthunder. Maybe we can convince them to add the Andrewsarchus. Make sure to download it for free today using my link in the description for that large sign-up bonus. By the time day 91 rolled around, I flew off with my absolute army to the boss terminal, where I summoned in the resurrected god yet again. Attack! And kaboom! Dun, 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 dun. My army did not last long, getting so damn close to killing this oversized bag of bones only to... No! So damn close! I logged back in having died, but was fortunately able to recover my corpse, glide back to my griffin, but the resurrected god was gone due to it leaving render distance. Yeah. I knew for the dark hierophant that it was a reaper, so the best way to deal with reapers is to use a light pet. So I went off in search of a prime bulb dog. So that meant killing dozens of elite shinehorns in an attempt to make the prime bulb dog spawn. It was already day 98 by the time I finally got a bulb dog to spawn, so picked him up to bring him home to safety, shoved some bacon in his butt, and he became my friend. Gave him a sweet helmet and named him Bulbius Maximus. Pumped up his health, melee, and charge before cloning him a few times, picking one up, and flying off in search of a good location to fight the dark hierophant. Bulbius, no! No! Losing Bulbius has
Maximus!
severely hurt my damage output, so I decided to bite the bullet and go grab a new one. Despawning the dark hierophant as I left render distance. Picked up a new bulbous, flew back in and summoned in a new hierophant. Only for bulbous II to immediately get killed again by the hierophant. Grabbed another new bulbous and flew in again, and this time, bulbous or not, I was going to kill this hierophant.
Okay, so that move throws my bulb dog off my shoulder, apparently.
$50 million, $40 million, $30 million, $20 million, $10 million. No! No! Oh. To explain a bit for those who don't realize what exactly just happened there, the hierophant summons Reaper minions that can tail whip yeet you across the map, pushing you out of render distance, thus instantly despawning the hierophant. It was time to fight the hierophant yet again, but this time I brought an army of dinosaurs, all named after my patrons and channel members. Thank you for your support, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow dinosaurs. But here we go. Oh, come on! Yeet it again? I need a new plan. I need a new fight location. So I flew off to the wyvern trench where I decided to give up trying to outmaneuver the hierophant. So I nuzzled myself into a small little rock outcrop, and it was time to face the hierophant head on. And there it is. What a fan-frickin-tastic journey through Ark Eternal. Thank you all for watching and enjoy your day.